Revenge films.
My parents died in an accident when I was 5. Since then, I've been living with my relatives. My father's sister's family took me in at first. When I went to live with them, they all looked sour. My cousin was in elementary school, and she hated the idea of having me in her family. My aunt and her husband had put a lot of effort into my cousin's education. They sent my cousin to a private elementary school. To prevent me from disturbing my cousin's studies, I was prohibited from talking to her at home. The aunt's family is very dedicated to my cousin's education, so they also spend as much time as possible with her. Because I was not allowed to talk to their daughter, I was never really part of the family. Felt like they completely ignored my existence. After 3 months, my aunt gave me up at last and said,
"I have to send my daughter to expensive tutoring classes. I can't afford to support another child."
So I was sent to the family of a distant relative on my mother's side. She was in her mid-40s, divorced, and living with her 3 adult sons. The 3 sons did not have stable jobs. They would occasionally do part-time jobs to earn some money, but it was mainly for fun. They also seemed to never bring any money home. The female relative worked long hours to support her sons, so I had to do the cleaning and cook for them. There was never any food for me. I always hid in the kitchen and ate the sons' leftovers while cleaning the dishes. However, the female relative still complained after 3 months.
"I don't have that kind of money to feed a growing boy."
Then she gave me up right away. After about a year of bouncing between different families, my relatives decided to put me into a group home. And that's when I met my foster parents. The group home was originally not an option because it looked shabby outside. But since none of my relatives wanted to raise me, they had a meeting to discuss the solution. Apparently, none of them wanted to be responsible for putting me in foster care, so they made it look like the decision was made at the meeting. I still remember what an older relative said to me before the meeting. "Tell everyone you want to go to the group home." I also met my future foster parents for the first time at the meeting. They just got married. My foster mom had just passed her first trimester of pregnancy, so they announced her pregnancy to their family on the same day they came to my meeting. All my relatives gathered in a big room, and I stood before them while they asked me questions. "What do you think, Michael?" I was terrified by the gazes of the adults, so I said as I was told, "I want to go to the group home." Suddenly, my foster mom stood up.
"What?
She yelled with a terrifying look on her face.
Who made him say this?"
My foster dad was surprised by her sudden action. After hearing my foster mom's question, all my relatives looked away and avoided eye contact with her. I was young and did what I was told, but my relatives still got mad at me. I remember how baffled I was at the time. I couldn't help crying because I didn't know what to do or say. My foster mom came to me and said,
"I want you to be my baby's big brother. What do you think?"
I didn't answer right away because I had always been told it was too much of a burden for a family to raise me. Then my foster dad said, "Let's be family." At that moment, tears welled up in my eyes. The sense of relief and safety overflowed, and I couldn't control my emotions anymore. I started crying uncontrollably. I had waited too long for someone to say that to me, and I finally heard it from my foster dad. Then my foster mom took me into her arms and held me until I stopped crying. After we returned to the big room, my foster grandma tried to persuade my foster mom not to take me in.
"This child is going home with me."
And so it was decided. While my relatives were happy about the result, my foster grandma seemed stupefied. But she accepted me eventually. I tried to test my foster parents in the beginning, but my foster mom made me feel so loved. As a kid, I didn't want to lose my family again, so I did my best to help around the house. They never asked me to do anything, but I felt like I should. I helped with cooking, folded laundry, and cleaned the washroom. I still had a deep fear of being abandoned again. Initially, my foster mom would say,
"You're so helpful."
when I did the chores. But then she realized I was doing chores because I was afraid that I might get kicked out like before. One day, my foster mom said to me,
"You did all my work for me, so I'm a little bored at home. Do you think you can leave some chores for me to do?"
After our talk, the only job my foster mom left me was to take care of my little sister after she was born. Then my little sister was born shortly after. I kept my promise and looked after her wholeheartedly. My little sister was precious. First, I looked after her to keep my promise, but soon I started to naturally care for her because I really enjoyed doing so. It was exciting to see her grow attached to me. All I wanted was to take good care of her, and my foster mom knew that already. My foster parents treated me like I was their real son, and they didn't change after my sister was born. Before my sister was born, I was worried I'd be a nuisance to my foster parents after the baby was born. I was abandoned twice before because my relatives thought I was a burden. Naturally, I was scared my foster parents wouldn't have any love for me when they had their own child. But as it turns out, my foster parents' love for me didn't change at all, so I was relieved. At that time, my foster parents also noticed my worries. In order to show love equally to my little sister and me, my foster parents would each hold one of us in their laps. I could feel that they were showing their love through actions instead of words. I was so glad my foster parents took me in. Now, I'm about to turn 30. I'm married, and my wife is pregnant. I told my wife how I grew up after my birth parents passed away when I was little. She said,
Your foster mom must have been nervous at the time because she was having her first baby, yet she took you in without knowing what would happen. I'm so glad I married you and have such wonderful parents-in-law. We must take care of them in the future like how they cared for you.
After hearing what my wife said, I realized how wonderful it feels to hear others praise my parents. I was in floods of tears before I knew it. I can't thank my foster mom enough. My foster parents indeed showed me what family means. Now, my foster parents still treat me with the same kindness and love as before. They were also very kind to my wife when I introduced them. They asked me what my wife liked and did their best to accommodate her. My foster dad came home early from work, bought a cake, and couldn't wait to meet my wife. My foster family has adored my wife from the first time they met. When I told them about my wife's pregnancy, they looked even more excited than me. One day, when my foster dad came home, "This is for the baby," and handed me the baby toys he had bought. My foster mom also took my wife out shopping.
We couldn't stop buying cute clothes for the baby.
Somehow, they're still spoiling us when we should be looking after them. Unless they earn well, my foster parents will go with me to visit my birth parents' graves every year. This continued after my little sister was born and also after I got married. I couldn't be happier with such a wonderful family. By the way, despite the effort my birth father's sister and her husband put into their daughter's education, the daughter failed her middle school exam because she couldn't handle the stress anymore, and her life went downhill afterwards. The second relative who took me in overworked herself and became ill. I heard she couldn't make money anymore and had to live off loans, so her life is very difficult now. Whenever I hear these stories of my relatives, I'm still astounded by how lucky I was to meet my foster parents. To me, it always looked like a miracle.
I got married a few months ago to my husband. We got married in a rush, but we were able to have a small wedding. I quit my job, but I'm busy visiting my father. Dad, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling a little better today.
My father is sick and has been told he doesn't have long to live. When I was still dating my husband, I had my doubts about marrying him because of it. But then he said,
Let's show your father you in your wedding dress.
"You're right!" And my husband pushed me to get married. When I told Dad that I was getting married, he was very happy. And on the day of the wedding, when he saw me in my wedding dress, he shed tears of joy, and it turned out to be a very nice ceremony. The wedding ceremony ended without incident, but Dad's condition deteriorated after that. He was getting weaker by the day.
Hey, Becky, I need to talk to you about your sister.
Yeah? What is it? Dad began to speak seriously. My sister was paralyzed on one side in an accident a few years ago and is now confined to a wheelchair.
After I die, I want my legacy to go to your sister.
As for Dad, he must be more concerned about my sister, who is physically disabled. I'd do the same thing if I were in his shoes. I know, that was my original plan. Give it all to her.
I'm sorry, Becky.
I'm fine. I can work and I'm married. Don't worry about it, Dad. I agreed to Dad's offer and promised to give up my inheritance.
I can't leave you anything. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, I have my husband.
Right.
Soon after we made this promise, Dad passed away. My sister and I were prepared for his death, but he raised us alone and we loved him, so we were shocked and couldn't stop crying when we saw him for the last time. After he passed away, I was so busy with the funeral and cleaning up the house.
I'm so sorry I can't help you at all, sis.
My sister, who was in a wheelchair, couldn't move as much as she wanted to, so she said this apologetically to me. What are you talking about? You're helping me out just by being here with me. Come on, let's sort these out together. After sorting through the belongings, my sister and I shared our dad's mementos. As promised, I sold his house and land and inherited the money to my sister. She had no idea about our promise, and as soon as she found out that she inherited everything, she said,
This is so wrong, sis. You have to take your share too.
"Don't worry about me."
No, this is not okay. Even Dad would think this is wrong, I'm sure.
Dad and I talked about this, okay? You'll go through many hard and difficult times in your life that can't be changed because of the situation you're in. So use this when you really need to. To my words, she began to cry, wishing she had not had the accident. Don't cry. I'm only a call away, so I'll rush to you if something happens. But I'd feel safer if you had it than if you didn't. So please accept it. Don't push away Dad and I's feelings.
If you say that, I have no choice but to accept it.
She cried to my words, but I managed to get her to agree on the inheritance. On the day we finished cleaning up, my husband and I dropped by my parents-in-law's house. "You must have gone through a lot." We knew my father didn't have long to live, and his last days were peaceful. "I'm glad you were able to be with your father until the end of his life."
By the way, what will happen to your father's inheritance? I'm worried about taxes and such.
Oh, don't worry about the inheritance. I renounced it.
Huh? What are you talking about?
I made a promise to Dad that I'd give it all to my sister. Well, you know why. The next moment, I was knocked to the floor for some reason. It was so sudden, I didn't have time to understand what had happened.
Do you know what you've done? Are you an idiot?
Ouch! Stop it! My husband was so upset he pulled my hair as he swung his arms around.
Stop it! What are you doing?
My father-in-law also tried to stop him, and then my husband made a shocking statement.
I was going to rebuild the house and live with my parents! Why did you renounce it?
He shouted and left without me. I was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. With a skull fracture, I had to live with bandages on my head for some time.
You sure you don't want to report this to the police?
Yes, I'm filing for divorce, so I'm fine. The doctor recommended that I report the incident, but I declined, considering the complications of the procedure. Immediately after getting out of the hospital, I hired a lawyer and went to my husband's house. I can't deal with you anymore. Contact me through my lawyer from now on.
Why am I the bad guy? This is all because you were stupid!
What do you mean, stupid? It's my dad's inheritance in the first place. It has nothing to do with you.
Your sister is fooling you! No one would renounce their inheritance!
I renounced it because I didn't want it.
You have your share too, don't you?
I said I renounced it because I didn't want it. I was saying the same thing over and over again, and the conversation wasn't progressing at all. What do you mean my sister's fooling me in the first place?
She's taking advantage of her disability and is going to live it up with the inheritance! As proof, she doesn't go out now!
When I told her my father and I promised to give her all the inheritance, she cried and she wished she never had the accident. She said she couldn't take it, you know? Besides, she can't just go out in a wheelchair whenever she wants to, can she?
She's just acting!
What are you talking about? Besides, she has the right to receive it. It's not yours.
What's the point of marrying you if we don't get anything?
When he said these words, I went back to talking about the divorce.
You deceived me! Pay me alimony!
He complained, but my lawyer said,
She's injured, and we have a medical certificate. We can go straight to the police, you know.
When we hinted about the police, he finally signed the divorce paper. In addition, the lawyer brought the divorce to the husband's fault for domestic violence and got him to pay me a small amount of alimony and medical expenses. My husband strongly refused, but my in-laws paid the money in advance for him. My in-laws, being sensible people, cried that they even pay for plastic surgery if it leave marks on my face. I'm so sorry.
I'm so ashamed he's my son. I wish he'd take a lesson from you sisters and your father.
It's all right. Please don't worry about it. I left him and went to live with my sister. Sis, welcome home! Hi. How's the new job? Working full-time really is busy. I'm now a full-time employee at a company, and I'm enjoying living with my sister. When I returned home after my divorce, she was extremely depressed, thinking that it was her fault, and that she should never have received her inheritance. What are you talking about? I'm glad to know that he was the kind of person who'd go after my father's inheritance. She nodded modestly. We used our inheritance to change the living room and other areas to make life easier for my sister. She now enjoys cooking on her own. What's for dinner tonight? I'm starving. It's miso soup! Mackerel simmered in miso sauce, pickled vegetables, and kimpira burdock. Sounds delicious. Let's eat. Okay. Neither I nor my sister know what the future holds. But the time I have now with her is very precious. By the way, my ex-husband is no longer allowed in his parents' house until he pays back the alimony and medical expenses to them.
I'm your son! Let me in!
I don't have a son like you. Go home.
No!
I'm looking forward to seeing how he'll live his life from now on.
When I was 30, I lost my parents in an accident. I was single at the time, but my brother was married and had kids already. My father had quite a lot of savings. My brother and I also received a significant compensation payout from the accident. I split the insurance payout with my brother and bought up my brother's share of the condo our parents left. My parents had just bought their new home not long before they passed away, but my brother didn't want the condo, so I decided to take it over. Because of the accident, we received an extra payout from my parents' life insurance policy. My brother and I also divided that money equally. In total, my brother got a couple $100,000. Because my brother received about the same amount as his lifetime wages, his wife suggested that he quit his job. Of course, even though he had enough money on hand, the money would run out eventually, but from what I heard from my brother, his company didn't pay overtime wages, and he felt underpaid for the amount of work he had to do. Now, he had received enough money to support his family for a while, so I thought maybe quitting and looking for a better job was a fitting choice for him. I was sure he'd find a better job later on and wouldn't stay unemployed forever. My brother would be able to buy a house once he started another full-time job, and everything would work out fine if they didn't overspend. Later, I met a good man and started dating him. Eventually, we decided to get married. Instead of a wedding ceremony, we had a small dinner party with my in-laws after we got married at the city hall. Even though my husband had never met my parents, he held them in high regard. He's a very kind-hearted person, and he always goes with me to visit my parents' graves. My in-laws are also kind and similar in character to my husband. They all have a special place in my heart. At the time, my husband got a work transfer. When he was still pondering whether to relocate by himself or ask me to go with him, I had already made the decision to move with him. I had kept the condo my parents left because real estate prices were dropping, but a realtor told me, property price is growing in the coastal area, so now is a good time to sell. I didn't have high expectations, but the condo was sold immediately. Even though it was an old condo, it was in excellent condition, so we sold it for a price close to when the building was built. Of course, my husband knew I had inherited money from my parents, but he didn't ask for anything because he was never into material things. He said,
You should hold on to the money your parents left you. They'd be more pleased if you spent that money on our future baby. I'll do my best to earn more money too.
I've also never been interested in fashion or designer brands, so I saved that money for my child. My husband's work transfer was only 1 to 2 years long, but I really enjoyed the slow-paced life in the countryside. Life in the countryside was not as convenient as in big cities, and there weren't any trendy shops. But all the neighbors were lovely and always shared their vegetables and fruits they have harvested in the fields. I started to work 3 days a week because I wanted to know more people. My husband and I cherished each other and always spent time together when we were not working. My neighbor also taught me how to fish and grow my own vegetables. Whenever I caught fish, we would invite the neighbors over to have a small get-together. While I was living in the countryside with my husband, my sister-in-law became a celebrity in the coastal area. They bought a house and always invited a lot of friends over. My brother got a job at an exotic car dealership, so he also bought one of the cars for themselves. They sent their 2 children to private middle schools as well. I didn't know if my brother was doing well at his dealership job. The only thing I could be sure of was their lavish lifestyle, but of course, it was their choice and I didn't have a say in it. A year later, an earthquake struck the coastal area, and my brother's house was affected by soil liquefaction. It'll cost more than $100,000 to fix the house. Because of their lifestyle, my brother couldn't afford the repair. So, my sister-in-law called me to ask if I could let them stay at my parents' condo. I felt sorry for their situation and was so glad everyone was safe. But when I got married, my sister-in-law said to me with a sneer,
At your age, whoever marries you must be very eccentric.
I'll never forget the way she made fun of me.
You won't look good in a wedding dress because of your age. Since you won't even have a wedding, I guess you wouldn't mind if I don't get you a gift, right?
My sister-in-law didn't give me any wedding gifts. She didn't even congratulate me on my marriage. My brother remained silent the whole time and didn't even try to stop her. It was true that I married late, but I only met my husband because I waited patiently. I was infuriated by how she treated me, so I stopped talking to her since then. When I got a call from my sister-in-law, I said, I'm sorry for you guys, but you can repair your titled house or figure something out. I can't help you with anything.
Your brother's family just survived an earthquake and that's all you've got to say?
Yes, my brother and I each inherited half of our parents' property, so you can't blame me for anything. You guys made a decision to live an extravagant life, right? I turned her down and hung up the phone. Later, the realtor who helped me sell the condo called me. Apparently, my sister-in-law went inside that building, so the building manager called the police. She was yelling,
That unit belongs to my relative. I have the right to enter and live here. Let me in.
She made a scene and tried to enter the unit, so the police officer apprehended her. At the time, the new owners of the condo have already been living in there. The police officer didn't go easy on my sister-in-law. It almost felt like she went there to get caught. My sister-in-law received a strict warning from the police. She called me right after she got out of the precinct.
Hey, what the hell happened to that condo?
Why do you ask? Does it have anything to do with you?
I told you last time that we don't have a place to stay. We need that place.
I can't let you live there.
What is the matter with you? Your brother's family is in trouble.
I wish I could help, but I can't. I sold that condo before we moved to the countryside.
Why didn't we know that? How could you sell it without consulting with your family first?
Of course you didn't know. I never told you. Besides, it's my condo. Why would I consult with anyone before making a decision?
We were going to live there, but you ruined our plan. You can send us the money instead then. You have the money from selling the condo, right?
Huh? That's not gonna happen. I'm pregnant and not working now. My husband and I need to save more money for our child. I'll keep the inheritance for my children.
You can start working again after you give birth. We're your family and we're desperate here.
You keep saying family, but you mocked me, insulted me, and never even congratulated me when I got married. Why would I help you out now? I don't have to. I don't want to.
What? Are you for real? This is so unfair. Share the condo money with us.
I was astonished by what she asked of me after wasting their own money away. My sister-in-law kept yelling at me over the phone, so I ended the call. My brother and his wife don't know where I live in the countryside, so I'm not worried they'll come knocking at my door. I ignored all her phone calls after that. Even though their house is tilted, it isn't so damaged that they can't live in it. Later, I found out they had spent way more than they had. Because of their financial problems and the earthquake, they couldn't pay off their debts and had their house repossessed. The exotic car dealership my brother worked at also went out of business. My brother lost his source of income, and his family ended up moving to subsidized housing. They faced so many difficulties after the earthquake and struggled to pay their children's tuition. However, although I sympathized with them, I didn't feel like helping them. If my sister-in-law's attitude were a little different, my husband and I would have done things differently. I also blame my brother for being too weak and obedient to his wife. My sister-in-law made fun of me as much as she wanted, but demanded my help when she was in distressing circumstances. It was all too convenient for her. I understand how hard their life is now, but it's a result of my brother's terrible life choices. I decided to give up on him and let him be.
My husband and I have been married for 2 years and recently found out that I'm pregnant. It's my first time getting pregnant, so I waited until the stable period of pregnancy before telling my parents. However, my sister-in-law, Selena, told them about my pregnancy. My husband is younger than me, but his sister and I are the same age, so we became friends. Also, Selena is a midwife, so I thought I could ask her for advice when I need help. But one day, when I was feeling sick, it suddenly stopped. So I went to the hospital and I was told that the baby in my womb passed away. The doctor diagnosed me with a miscarriage. I called my husband while still in shock.
What's wrong? It's unusual for you to call me during working hours.
Love, our baby is gone.
What do you mean by gone?
Our baby passed away inside my womb.
What? Did you fall or something?
No, I was told that I had a miscarriage and the baby was the problem. I had a miscarriage. I'm really sorry.
It's not something that you should apologize about. Are you all right?
Yes, I'm okay, somehow.
How about your body? Are there any problems?
Actually, I'll need to have surgery 2 days from now. They need to take the baby from my womb.
What? I'll be in trouble.
What do you mean? We can't let the baby stay this way.
Did you forget that we have plans 2 days from now?
I remembered when my husband said that. We did have plans to go camping with his parents. I told him before that I can't go because I still had morning sickness, but he said that it's their annual tradition, so we absolutely need to attend. But this happened, so I really can't attend. I'll tell your parents myself.
What are you saying? Let's just go camping that day and have surgery the next day. You know, since we scheduled that before this happened.
What are you saying? Surgery is not an ordinary medical exam, so I can't just change the date that easily. Besides, if I don't do it soon, my body might be in danger. He knows the situation I'm in, so I was appalled by the words coming out of his mouth. I cried a lot and felt very sad about the baby, but all he said was, "That was unfortunate." He told me to talk to the doctor and even go to a different hospital if necessary. My head was aching from just talking to him, so I said, "I can't change the surgery date. Also, after surgery, I need to take 2 weeks of rest for my body to recover."
So what about camp?
I can't go, so just go without me.
I understand, but don't tell my sister about your miscarriage, because the camp will have a heavy atmosphere if you do.
You're right. I understand. Then, 2 days later, I went to the hospital alone and had surgery. After that, I felt lonely again when I realized that the baby is gone, so I cried. Then I rested in the hospital for a while and was discharged. My husband is still at camp, and it would be difficult for me to go home alone. Just when I thought of calling a taxi, I got a call from my husband. Hello?
Melinda? Since you picked up the call, this means that your surgery is done, right?
Yes, I was thinking of riding a taxi home.
Okay, then I guess it's fine.
What do you mean is fine?
I'll pick you up, so let's go camping.
Huh? What are you saying?
What do you mean, what? I waited for you to finish surgery, so at least be thankful.
I told you that I won't go, so go without me.
It's okay. Let's go, and you just sleep in the tent.
Everyone will be busy. I can't just sleep in the tent. I need to rest.
I'm already headed your way, so wait for me outside the hospital.
Then my husband came to the hospital, put me in the car, and brought me to camp. I felt sick in the car and was out of breath in the passenger seat, but instead of being worried, my husband took me and heaved a sigh.
You're overreacting. Your surgery finished without a problem, right? Oh, and don't tell anybody that you had a surgery, okay? They'll get worried.
I just lost my baby and I feel sick, but why do I need to go camping in this condition? I know that it's their annual tradition, but doesn't he have the heart to take care of my body? Thinking about that, I felt like tears were about to fall. When we arrived at the camping site,
Oh, Melinda, we're glad you came. Let's enjoy camping together.
Selena, who knew about my pregnancy, told me, "You don't need to move that much, okay?" But she doesn't know about my miscarriage. Despite the hot temperature, I helped with setting up the tent and fetched water. Because of that, I started to feel sick. Then, before I knew it, I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital instead of the campsite. They told me I was taken away by an ambulance. Where's my husband? I looked for my brother when you fell, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I was worried about him too, but I was more concerned about you, so I told my parents about my brother and I brought you to the hospital. Putting that aside, you had a miscarriage? Selena looked at me worriedly. Looking at her face, tears started to fall. I told her about the surgery and about how my husband brought me to camp against my will. Can't believe this! Why would he do that? Selena went pale listening to my story. Then she slowly showed her anger. I'm sorry for what my brother did. I will never forgive him, Selena said, and went out. After that, my sister and her husband, who lived near, came to visit me. When I told them about how I couldn't contact my husband, "Stay at our house for a while," she said, so I did. My sister did the chores and stuff, and her husband was also very kind. Then night fell, and I finally received a call from my husband.
I'm sorry. I was suddenly called at work. Is your body okay?
I'm here because I'm not okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, when are you coming home?
You'll hurt me again if I stay home, so I'll stay here at my sister's house for a while.
Is that so? Well then, take a rest and take care of your body.
Just like that, I stayed at my sister's for a while. During that time, I contacted Selena, but I learned a shocking truth. Then, a month later, I received a call from my husband.
Melinda, aren't you coming home soon? It's inconvenient when I'm alone.
Inconvenient? That's not true, is it? Because you weren't at home.
What are you saying, Melinda? I'm at home.
When I fell, Selena thought it strange that she couldn't contact you, so she doubted you. Then she told me that you weren't at home at all, but you sometimes went home with another woman and went out with the luggage. That's why I went to a detective agency to look up your whereabouts. So, I got evidence of you cheating.
No, this is a misunderstanding.
There's a picture of you and a woman kissing at her place.
What? That's a lie!
That's true. By the way, Selena knows about this and said that she'll tell your parents everything. So I'll divorce you, of course.
You'll tell my parents too? Wait, I'll apologize and I'll take any punishment.
When the baby and I were in trouble, you carried out the plan to go camping. So you can be with this woman. Of course I feel disgusted about you. Then I hung up the phone. After that, he got a call from his parents and was disowned by them and his sister. His lover was his colleague, so I sent his boss the evidence of their affair. Their boss found out about their relationship, and they both got fired. Then I received thousands of dollars as alimony for him and his lover. I don't know what happens to them after that, but it seems like they're having difficulty paying off their debt. I lost a lot from this incident, but I have Selena, an irreplaceable friend, with me. So I'm able to move forward one step at a time.
I live with my husband and son. My son goes to kindergarten, and my husband is an office worker. My son is a very active boy, so he is a handful. The time I spend with my friends having coffee and talking about our kids gives me a little bit of a break from my busy life. We usually go to a cafe downtown, but lately, I've had a problem with someone who I went to the cafe with. Her name is Kathy. Both our kids are in the same class as the kindergarten, We all had coffee once with Kathy, but we were appalled by her behavior. We'd been avoiding her since that incident, but one day, I got a call from Kathy.
Hey, what's up?
Well, I'm doing well, thank you.
Hey! How come you're talking like we don't know each other? We're BFFs, right? We had so much fun over coffee the other day, right?
I can't say we had fun. The fun time Kathy is talking about was the time when she suddenly appeared from nowhere in the cafe while we were having coffee. She was led by a waiter saying,
Here they are!
and sat down at our table uninvited. We were stunned, so I finally opened my mouth and asked her, Kathy, did any of us talk to you about this cafe?
Not really. I just saw you from outside, so I decided to join you guys.
Oh, I see. Her pushiness was well known among the parents in the school. We couldn't ask her to leave, as we see her often because of our kids. So we just let her join us. But what came after was even worse. She ordered the cheapest coffee and started to gorge on the food we had already ordered. She even went over to the drink and soup counter and started to take stuff from there without paying. Hang on, Kathy! You didn't order those, did you?
Chill! You guys ordered other stuff, right? So they'll never know.
That's not the point!
No problem.
She kept on doing stuff like this. Ate all the food the rest of us had ordered, and the soup and drinks she didn't pay for. In the end, she said,
This was such fun! Let's do this again!
She left a couple of dollars for the coffee she ordered, saying,
Here's the money I owe you.
and left. That's why we all thought we never wanted to see her again at that cafe. Oh, sorry. We've been busy lately, so we don't know when we can go for coffee next.
Huh? It was fun. Why don't we go together?
We're all busy lately, so we can't. Sorry. Kathy was still complaining, but she finally hung up the phone. I thought I got out of it, but she hadn't given up. She called the others, Brittany, who was gentle and sweet, got bulldozed by her pushiness, and eventually said yes to Kathy's plan. Brittany was so apologetic, saying,
I'm really sorry.
to us. So, we felt sorry for her. It's okay. She is so pushy. We don't want to go there again with Kathy, but what's done is done. We tried to just get it over with. So, we all went to the cafe on that afternoon with Kathy. Before we went in, I told Kathy, please don't do what you did last time. We'll split the bill for the food we share, okay? She looked grumpy, but just said,
I know.
So we went in together. We ordered all-you-can-drink style drinks and french fries, fried chicken and cake to share among us. Then, to our surprise, Kathy started to line up glasses for all types of drinks they have and drinking them. What are you doing?
What do you think I'm doing? I need to drink all the drinks I can, so I get more than what I paid for, of course.
Can you not do that all at once? Everyone was staring at us, and the cafe owner was looking at us angrily. To make things worse, Kathy started to put lots of cream, sugar, and tea bags into her pockets. What do you think you're doing?
I have every right to take these. I ordered the all-you-can-drink menu, right?
Just give them all back! While we were arguing at our table, the cafe owner came over to us and said,
You are disturbing the other customers. Can you leave, please?
We were forced to leave the cafe, and were all banned. Kathy wasn't even the slightest bit sorry, even though she was the one who caused all of this.
What a jerk.
He had to.
You are embarrassing.
We don't want to hang out with you anymore, Kathy.
Huh?
This is how we told Kathy we did not want to be friends with her anymore. A month later, we came to our kids' school earlier than usual for a parents' meeting. We have some time till the kids finish school. Do you want to have a coffee? I know a nice place.
Sure. Where is it?
Sounds great. We need to find a new place, right?
Well, The wife of the owner of this cafe is really into quality crockery, dishes and cups. Not to mention the selection of coffee beans. Their coffee is amazing, and it's close to the school. So do you want to go now?
Why not? So we went to the cafe Amber recommended. We were greeted by a young waiter's smile.
Good afternoon. Take a seat, ladies.
This place is nice.
Yeah, totally.
The atmosphere of the cafe was great, and we looked at the menu. All of a sudden, we heard a thud. We lifted our heads from the menu and were met with a nasty surprise.
Come on, guys! Why didn't you invite me?
I thought we made our feelings clear. We don't want to be friends with you. Your behavior before was terrible.
You're so mean!
She shouted so loudly. This is more of a fancy cafe where people relax and actually enjoy the aroma of coffee. So you can imagine this place was kind of quiet. We've got it, so just calm down and be quiet. We didn't want to be banned from this place too, so we had to let Kathy sit down with us.
Well, what should I have? Huh? This price for a coffee? What a ripoff!
We kept trying to keep her quiet. When Kathy went to the bathroom, the rest of us all agreed to leave the cafe as soon as possible. After Kathy came back from the bathroom, I said, "Let's just leave." We split the bill, and when it came to Kathy's turn to pay, the waiter told her,
That will be $200.
to our great surprise, especially for Kathy, who was furious.
What the heck are you talking about?
But the waiter calmly replied, saying,
I think you know what I'm talking about. Your bag, madam.
All of a sudden, Kathy went pale. We didn't know what was happening, so the waiter explained.
I went to the bathroom earlier, but the ornaments and various other items we used to decorate the bathroom were all gone. The only person who went to the bathroom within the time frame is this lady here. Besides, it's quite obvious. Her bag became noticeably bigger after she left the bathroom. One ornament in the bathroom is unique and was made to order. You cannot buy it anywhere.
What are you talking about?
Are you kidding? Did she steal things? Come to mention it, Kathy's bag looks a lot bigger and heavier. We made her show what was inside her bag. To our dismay, all of the items the waiter talked about were in the bag.
I can explain.
The wife of the cafe owner also couldn't believe what she was seeing. What happened after was simple. The waiter called the police, and Kathy got arrested for theft. The rumors spread like wildfire throughout our kids' school, too. To avoid their child being bullied, Kathy's husband divorced her and moved away with her child. After the divorce, she was living on her own, but it is a small town. Her arrest made it into the local newspaper, and she couldn't even walk down the street without people whispering about her. Despite all this, her bad behavior was widely known even before the arrest, so no one felt sorry for her. The three of us, after the police took her away, apologized to the owner's wife. But she said, "It's not your fault. Please come again." The cafe has become our favorite place to hang out.
I met him when I was a fourth-year university student. When I was volunteering at a welfare facility during summer vacation, he approached me. His younger brother is disabled, so he goes there regularly. Just that day was the regular medical checkup. He was 25 years old at that time and was working at an office. He asked me for my number, so we exchanged contacts. We went out to what seemed like dates until it developed into a relationship. He was very kind. He helped me carry groceries and held out his hand so I wouldn't fall. He also opens the water bottle for me. He's always on his best behavior. He treated me like a princess, even though I'm already past 20. Even when half a year passed after we started dating, he continued to take care of me, and I started thinking about marriage. Then, just before graduation, he proposed to me.
After you graduate, will you marry me?
Yes!
Before that, I would like you to meet my family, especially my younger brother.
Of course, because we'll become a family soon. Then, a week after he proposed, I went to visit his family. But when I arrived, his parents suddenly lectured me on how to treat his brother. At first, I didn't know what was happening, but Charles told me that he has a disabled brother turning 20, but there are no problems with day-to-day living. But that was a lie. His brother has a severe behavioral disorder. It's a disorder wherein he destroys things and hurts people. Don't shout, even if he does something you don't feel comfortable with. Also, don't ever ask using the words, "Don't ever," blank. Only ask yes or no questions. Just like that, she forced me, someone she met for the first time, to act a certain way.
Isn't that too much to ask of her?
No, it isn't. She'll be living with us. She needs to know how to act properly. She gave me an intense impression. Charles just stayed there like nothing was happening and watched us talk like it was none of his business. Then his younger brother was brought to the living room. Nice to meet you. Denny came closer to me, scratching his chin. He slowly grabbed my hair and started pulling so hard I thought it would be pulled out. I took a teacher training course, so I had a bit of knowledge on how to handle kids like that, but when it came to an adult like Denny with his strength, I forgot what I had learned. Because it happened all of a sudden, I completely forgot about what his mother taught me. Ouch! Please stop! I shouted. Then Denny became angry and kicked the chair. When I looked at his mother, she sighed with an "I told you so" look. Denny continued to be angry for a while, and hurled the things around him and made strange noises. Charles didn't do anything to stop his brother and just watched like it was nothing. Dumbfounded by the terrible scene in front of me, his father said,
That's enough! What are you ranting about every time? Shut up!
He punched and kicked Denny. Then Denny made strange noises again and responded to the attack. His mother defended him and shrieked. Charles still didn't do anything. Then his mother came near me. You ignored my explanation, so I'm gonna punish you. I'll help him out, relieve him sexually to calm him down, so help me out. Huh? What did you just say? I said that he needs to be relieved sexually, so you need to do it for him. How many times do I need to repeat it to you? You're kidding, right? Based on the look on her face, it didn't seem like she was kidding. With a reproachful look, I looked in Charles' direction. Then, he finally talked, but he said something shocking.
Please, do as my mother told you.
Huh?
It's pitiful. Danny is disabled, so he can't do it by himself. If no one will do it for him, he won't calm down.
Are you serious?
You're going to marry me, right? So please, do as we say. Mom used to help him out with that, but actually, Mom was diagnosed with cancer half a year ago. That's why we can't keep on relying on Mom.
So does that means after their mother would pass away, Charles wanted me to help Denny out to calm him down, so he approached me. That was why he wanted to marry me. I also used to volunteer, so Charles thought I would take care of Denny. Also, the reason why Charles was being so kind to me was that he didn't want me to get physically hurt since he wanted me to help Denny out in the future. I got terrified of what was happening, so I looked for a chance and ran out the door. Then, with a menacing look, he ran after me, shouting,
Running away? Are you trying to run away alone?
I was so scared that I continued to run as fast as I could without looking back. I somehow outran him and arrived home, but I received messages from Charles. At first, he texted,
You lacked understanding. You provoked him, so it's all your fault. It's unfair that you ran away.
When I didn't reply, he texted again.
Right, I understand. You can't just do it when told all of a sudden. That's why Mom said that from now on, let's practice it and slowly get used to it. Just like training for homemaking. Our marriage is not about the two of us. It's about us being a family with both our parents and siblings. That's why, just like what my family is doing, you'll need to do the same in the future. Well, you're still a university student, so you might not understand it now. But that's what marriage means.
I thought that it was impossible to live with that family, so I'm sorry, but I can't get along well with your family. No matter how much explanation is done, as an outsider, I can't perfectly treat Danny like your mother wants me to. I can't deal with your father, too, when he acts violently. When your father and mother and brother are fighting, and your mother demanded my help, you looked away and ran after me, shouting, running away? All I felt was fear. I texted him back and asked to break up. Then he said,
I approached you because you were volunteering, but you discriminated against Denny because he's disabled. Denny is pitiful, you hypocrite!
he got mad, and after that,
It's a marriage scam! Pay me alimony!
Charles and his parents told me a lot of things, but my parents helped me out, and we were able to break up somehow. Then Charles's mother passed away 3 months after the incident. Apparently, cancer has already spread throughout her body at that time, and was told she had little time to live. In dire need of help, they thought of this plan and executed it. Their mother passed away, and Charles lived together with his father and brother, but since her passing, Denny got out of control. Then one day, Charles finally became violent towards Denny and got arrested. Apparently, Denny was violated to the point of permanent injury. The neighbors heard all the shouting and called the cops. When the cops came, Denny was unconscious.
He was out of control to the point that we couldn't do anything. I thought that it was impossible to continue living with him like this. I planned to end his life.
He explained to the police. When Charles was arrested, his father was also arrested because his violence against Denny was discovered. I don't know what happened to Denny after that, but he's probably living in an institution somewhere. Charles said that I'm a hypocrite, but I don't know why he could say something like that. After that, I got a job, and despite being bewildered by unfamiliar work, I continue to volunteer on the weekends.
The name's Sean Kelly. I used to live in Tokyo, but I moved to a house in the countryside for work. When I lived in Tokyo, I always bought packed meals. So when I first got here, I thought it was inconvenient because convenience stores were so far away. I have to cook for myself. I thought of buying some pots and pans, but when I went to greet my neighbors, the older ladies who were concerned about me living alone started bringing me things like simmered dishes and grilled fish, one after another from the first day I moved in. I had no trouble finding food. I was even thankful that I could eat healthier food than I could with packed meals. My life in the countryside made a great start. But in the morning a week after I moved in, I opened the door with great enthusiasm for my first day of work. But I was caught off guard. Huh? The door won't open! The front door, which opened normally until yesterday, couldn't open because it was blocked by something. I looked out the window right next to the door and saw an unbelievable sight. To my surprise, there were 5 cars parked side by side on the street in front of the house. The street in front of the house is very narrow. There were only houses and fields around the house, and only people entering houses along the street passed by. I figured it was probably someone who came to visit around here, and had always parked here until I moved in. Fortunately, there's another door in the back, so I decided to go out that door to work. I hope this doesn't happen again. I put a sign on the windshield of the car saying, "I'm currently living here, so please, don't park here." I came home tired at night from my first day of work, partly because of the new workplace. It's a long way to the office, too. It's gonna be tough until I get used to this. When I arrived home, I found something that looked like pieces of paper thrown away in front of my door. What is this? I unfolded it and found it was the paper I'd put on the cars this morning. Some of the papers were crumpled up, and some had a big cross written on top of my writing with a pen. I instantly knew that some buggers had parked here. But luckily, they didn't park here for the next 3 days. Instead, I woke up in the middle of the night to loud noises. What's that noise? He really is an asshole, isn't he? There were punks hanging out in front of the house. When I quietly looked out the window, I saw that the cars that had been parked the other day were parked again, and the punks were making noise by them. That's right, the owners of the cars were a group of countryside punks. Of course, I didn't have the guts to go out and warn them. I endured and spent a sleepless night. A few days later, the cars began to park in front of my house in the morning again. They must have realized that I wouldn't say anything, but I decided to call the police because I couldn't go on like this. We've checked around the neighborhood, but we can't find the owners. I've given them a parking ticket, so I'm sure they won't park here again. That was a relief. I quickly headed to work as I was running late.
But when I returned home, I found an unbelievable scene awaiting me. The cars were no longer parked, but my front door was banged and dented, as if it'd been hit with something. What the hell? Impatiently, I tried to unlock the door to enter the house anyway, but the lock wouldn't open. Rather, something was stuck in the keyhole. You've got to be kidding me. Did they do this? I went around to the back door, entered the house, and turned on the light. I heated up the food I'd received the day before in the microwave for dinner. That's when it happened. The sound of a violent knocking on the door and a barrage of intercom calls echoed through the house. I changed my clothes and went out in fear. And there they were, the stupid-looking punk guys and punk girls I'd seen through the window before. What took you so long?
Don't get carried away, you idiot.
Huh? Can I help you?
Can I help you? You think you're funny?
Are you the ones who banged the door by any chance?
Huh? So what? We got tickets because of you, so we're gonna get even.
We parked here long before you lived here. If you're not gonna let us park here, go rent 5 parking spaces somewhere and pay for our parking, you dickhead! I don't know what to say. I don't like it when the door doesn't open every morning, and I don't like it when you make noise in the middle of the night. Besides, this is a public road, not a parking lot. Shut up! Stop complaining!
You're a man, but you're acting like a creepy little bitch.
I'll kill ya! I'll kill ya, bitch!
Gradually, I became annoyed with their dumb, selfish behavior. Park your cars in the parking lot properly! How poor are you if you can't even pay for a parking space?
What? You're annoying.
Can I kill him? Can I? And then...
Hey, you!
Huh? I came to my senses and turned around to the voice to see an old man and woman. And a woman who looked like their daughter standing there. Are they going to help me? I thought they were going to help me, but I was wrong.
Hey, you! Stop complaining just because there are cars parked in front of your house.
You're the one causing trouble. My daughter got a ticket because of you. Pay for it now!
The sooner you pay, the easier it'll be.
To my surprise, they were on the punk's side. Damn it! By the looks of it, it seemed that the man and the woman who came yelling at me were a married couple, and the old man and woman who rushed to the scene were their family. There are punk families like them in the countryside? No, they're just the crazy ones. I decided to call the police because I couldn't handle them. We're getting nowhere, so I'm gonna call the police. Then the punk guy yelled, "You asshole!" He took my phone and slammed it to the ground as hard as he could. I just bought that phone! I snapped. I slammed the door shut on the feet of the guy and woman, who'd stuck their feet in the doorway to keep me from closing the door, over and over again, as hard as I could. Ow! I locked the door when their feet moved away from the door. Their feet were probably broken. The man and woman's screams didn't stop for some time. But that seemed to have added more fuel to the fire. They smashed my window and started throwing stones into the house one after another. I immediately rushed upstairs, gasped for breath, and wondered what to do. I had no phone and couldn't call the police. Then I heard a voice from a window next to me.
Sean, I've called the police. I'm sure they'll be here soon.
Thank you so much! Apparently the neighbor who'd heard the unusual commotion had called the police. Then, thinking to keep the punks here until the police arrived, I threw a stone back at the old man into his body. Ah! Ow! Damn! You! I never could have guessed I'd be having a stone throwing contest at my age. About 5 minutes later, the police arrived. The punks ran away in all directions, but they were caught immediately as I'd injured them. Soon after that, 2 police officers entered the house and interviewed me. They took pictures of all the damage in the house, including my phone, as evidence. Looking at the door again, I found it'd been hit with a metal bat or an iron pipe. I shuddered to think that I could have seriously been killed if I fought them head on. Sometime later, they were obligated to pay me a total of 300,000 yen in damages. But they all disappeared and never paid me. The damage was big, but in return, my neighbors were very grateful. They were a family of punks who did whatever they wanted here.
I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you did us a big favor by kicking them out.
I was treated like a hero in this countryside, and the amount of gifts given from neighbors increased to the point that I couldn't eat them all. I've been able to get to know my neighbors, as is often the case in the countryside. And now, I'm enjoying country life to the fullest.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.